G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be fixing this. Oh, it's a bit wet out there. Bloody rainy day today. A lot of water falling down over the southwest. Welcome back to today's episode, or welcome to today's episode of Offroad Crusader. Today we're doing some more maintenance work. I've noticed ever since the cold weather's hit, since now winter, we're coming into winter, the car's been blowing a little bit of white smoke and it's been starting a bit rough on startup. Only cold starts, warm starts it's been fine. I immediately jumped the gun and thought, oh no, head gasket, cracked cylinder head, that sort of thing. Went and saw some specialists and they said, no, be your glow plugs. My glow plugs in there are about 85,000 Ks old. However, I did just get the cheapest ones on the internet I could get at the time. So no surprises that they haven't gone the distance. Or perhaps there's just perhaps there's something in the electrical system, the buzz bar itself. Is not conducting electricity as it should. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to dive in and change them over, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you guys just how quick and easy this is. So these ones here, these are a Bosch item. Bosch says there, made in Japan. There you go, just like Toyota. So they're pretty much genuine. So this here, I don't know how well that shows up. That's the part number you're chasing for the 1KZTE 120 Series Prado glow plugs. You need 4 of them, fancy little thing. So I'm going to jump in now and start pulling the engine apart and show you how to change them over.
12 seconds later.
So this is where I'm up to on this job. I've removed the intercooler and the throttle body and a few other bits and pieces. You don't have to remove all those other bits and pieces, but it just makes it easy for me to show you what we're looking at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, they're your glow plugs and there's your power wire running to them. So what we're going to do now is basically remove that power wire. It looks a bit corroded, but we can still get on there. Take the buzz bar off, which is what connects them all and gives them all power. And then slowly and surely, you can see there I've soaked these in some penetrant fluid. We're going to try and remove these glow plugs from the engine. Now it's imperative that you don't, like if they're not coming out, you've got to be real gentle because there have been stories where they have seized into the cylinder head. And basically cylinder head, engine and part kind of job to get them out if you do snap them. So that's why I'm soaking these in some penetrating fluid now. If I do find they're going to be difficult, what I'll basically be doing is trying to undo it and just do it like, you know, a tiny amount, a few degrees turning at a time, then back, then forward, then back, trying to break that seal and break any corrosion that's holding them in. So I'm going to get to this job and yeah, you guys can watch. Now this nut is pretty heavily corroded. Obviously, as I'm trying to undo it, it's wanting to try and turn this whole wire with it as well. I don't want to refund it because more than likely I break the connection. I really can't be bothered trying to crimp that back on. So I'm just going to go forward and back nice and slowly and try and break that tension. Oh. Probably a better view there. See where it's snapped off. It's just absolutely seized on there. It's an 8mm socket I can get on the end, and I should be able to get an 8mm spanner on the back side of it as well, but it just does not want to sit. So unfortunately I may just have to cut and crimp a new connection on there because I don't know if this connection is going to be salvageable. Leave it with me. And we're back. I ended up just cutting off the old one and crimping on a new terminal. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I thought that the wire itself might be old and corroded and not enough length in it, but that seems to be going to work right. So anyway, we'll proceed on. So basically we're going to remove the rest of these the four 8mm nuts that are on top of this little buzz bar. Much easier to take them off. this one up the back. It's always a bit of a pain. This bracket, this pressed steel bracket at the back here. But the problem is the bolts that remove the bracket itself are on the back of the block. So it's really difficult to actually get to them. So I'm just going to leave that in place and work around it as best I can. 3. And there's our little buzz bar there. What I might do is I'll take this down the shed and going to buff it up a little bit, just to make sure there's no resistance in these where the glow plugs go through. If there's a lot of corrosion there, it may be causing resistance, and meaning that some glow plugs are working and some aren't, and whatever. So that's an easy thing just to buff up with some little bit of wet and dry sandpaper. So now we're going to look at actually removing the glow plugs themselves. Now these have been soaking in some penetrating fluid for quite a while now. If this is the first time you're doing it in quite a long time, or you don't know if it's been done before, I'd give it at least probably 1 or 2 days just soaking these, just to make sure you can get them back out again. So all I'm going to do, just got a 12mm socket, probably like a deep socket would work quite well, little impact socket, 12, a single hex. So it's only got the 6 sides on it, it's not a multi-hex one. And we're just going to try, I'll put one here, just going to try and, there we go, that undid really easily. And that one, a little bit more resistance in that one, but not too much. And I can just feel that's getting tight, so I've just undone it that little bit more. I'll leave it there to soak with a little bit of penetrating fluid on it. Try this one. That one feels, oh no, there we go, it is moving. Worried that might be seized in there. So I'm just doing this nice and slowly. I don't want to reef on these because if they get stuck, big problems. This one at the back might be a bit of an issue. Might use a spanner for that one. So for whatever reason, the glow plugs on cylinder 1 and 3 are really tight, and I can feel the resistance as I'm trying to undo these, and I'm really cautious of them actually snapping off inside the cylinder head, which I obviously really want to avoid. So what I've already got some penetrating fluid that's just sitting around where those threads are. I've basically tried to undo them as much as I dare, and now what I'm doing is winding them back into the thread. And what that's doing is it's pulling some of that penetrating fluid further into the thread, and it will start to clean it out further down. So now that I've tightened them up a little bit more, and again, I'm not reefing on any of these. I'm actually just putting a moderate amount of force on it until I can feel resistance. So again, that one there, that one's in there nice and tight. Let's remove this one. Since this glow plug's starting to play ball. And there it is. It's got a lot of black schmutz and stuff on there. We'll pull the others out and have a look. Some of these you do have to be worried about because if they break the tips off them, they will end up just on top of the piston, completely smashing into your valves and everything. Sometimes it's fine. The previous set I had broken tips on them and they weren't an issue at all, but some can break off and cause some pretty catastrophic damage in the engine, so it's worth just checking them. So now that I'm undoing this for the second time, I can feel that it's much easier to try and undo. It's making a hell of a racket, but much less resistance, which is what I'm hoping for. And there she is. And again, this one looks quite nice. The threads themselves have got a little bit of what I imagine is dirt or dust or something that's got in between the threads. But the glow plug's still in one piece, which is nice. Now, last one. Whoa. And there's number 3, but 4th in the series. That one's looking very sooty on the end, more so than the rest of them, but they're all out. We've got no seized ones, so great success in my books. Let's go compare these to the brand newies. So here are the old glow plugs. I've just lined them up to check that all the tips are the same length, and they all look pretty much the same, so we can safely rule out that the tip of any of these glow plugs have snapped off and end up bouncing on top of the piston. This one on the end, obviously you can see I've snapped that stud off, just being the cool kid that I am. And they all look relatively the same, except for this one here just seems to have a bit more, like there's a real distinguished mark of black soot on that one there. So trying to find a problem, I can't really see too much, except for this one may have been troublesome. And perhaps all that corrosion on the end was causing a whole bunch of resistance, or lack of resistance, or who knows, but was causing this glow plug to not work correctly, which meant that it didn't like starting up in the morning. So we're going to put some brand newies in there. Where are they going? That's what they should look like. Brand new, same length, threads are the same, cool. I'm happy to throw them in the car. And these have all got the plastic collars on top here as well, so I'll take that off. And you can see that little black collar on there. I think that's like a nylon collar or something like that. But all of them got it, so we're going to throw these in the car. I'm going to put a bit of anti-seize on the threads along here. Bosh, how cool is that? Just to make it easy, so if for whatever reason I need to remove these at some point, or the next owner does, or whatever, then that'll be easy enough to do. So we're going to do that. I'm going to check that all of these are going to be the same size and length and all the rest of it, and then we're going to throw them back in the car. And what I'm going to do is, I'll just do that on sort of finger tight, but now what I'm going to do is put the throttle bottle and everything back on there. So let's do that now. At least this way you can also see exactly what came off too. So there is, there we go, this little suction valve thingy bob that sits up the back here. It's in a bit of a prick of a spot to try and get to, especially with the throttle bottle and everything in the way. So I take that out, just gives you a little bit more breathing space. There's one little 10mm bolt on the side there, tube up the top, then it has this little filter thing that sits over the front there, but mine just falls off for some reason, so put it all back on. You know what this little valve actually does? I know it's something with the EGR, but I have no idea exactly what it does, but if you do know, leave a comment down below and educate me. I'm always willing to learn. This doesn't have to be super duper tight, but I'm just doing it so just nipped up. I don't want to go snapping anything, but I'm happy with that one there. If you have a 1KZ Prado, even a 1KZ, actually I think it's only the Prados that came up with the top mount intercoolers. I think some of the Hilux did, can't remember. Anyway, but if you have a KZ Prado or Hilux, and it still has the factory rubber and clamp on top there, do yourself a favour, replace it, grab yourself some silicone tubing, I think it's 76mm or something like that, 72 something, 2 hose clamps, and replace it, because over time the rubber perishes, the factory spring clamps lose their springiness, and they're no longer able to hold in all the pressurized oil vapors and things, and they start to leak the underside of your engine. Cheap and easy fix, easy to grab at any parts shop, and always good for a first project. If you want to learn how to do things on your car, good thing to try and replace, so definitely do that. Intercooler's back on, air intake sensor plugged in. Just going to add a little bit of dielectric grease on this plug here. Mine's a little bit loose for some reason, so can't help to keep some of the moisture out. Can't hurt, sorry, to keep the moisture out. That's one there. That's your train hose. There's on the bottom there. Last thing to do is to start the car up and make sure it actually runs. So, if you've made it this far in the video and your car hasn't exploded, good on you. You've just done a really good job at changing over your glow plugs. Definitely not the hardest job in the world, but something definitely worth knowing how to do, because like as you saw, it probably only take you, I mean without filming of course, probably looking at half an hour to an hour to do them all at the same time. So really, if a mechanic's going to charge you 6 hours to do this job and charge you $868.74, then it's probably a little bit much, and definitely something you can do on your own with only simple tools. I mean, we had a 10mm, 12mm, 8mm, a few extension pieces, some spanners, easy as. So yeah, definitely give it a go if you are interested in learning more about your car. Thanks again for watching. If you're interested in getting more, here comes that rain. If you're interested in seeing more Off-Road Crusader stuff, check out our Facebook page. Also have an Instagram page, and for those really dedicated, jump on the Patreon as well, because there's some cool stuff happening on there at the moment. Show your support for the channel, get some cool merch out of it as well. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode of Off-Road Crusader. Cheers guys, have a good one. Go away, rain.